Imagine this. A highly anticipated manga drops from a wildly popular author. You start reading it, and right in the first chapter, things take an incredibly dark turn for the protagonist. An antagonist sexually assaults and murders the hero's girlfriend right in front of him. Somehow, the main character survives, and you can see that burning desire for revenge in his eyes. He wants to destroy the villain. But then you look closer and realize the villain is Naruto? Actually, as you keep reading, you realize the entire villain group consists of the main protagonists from incredibly popular shonen manga. We're talking characters like Naruto, Luffy, Goku, Tanjiro, and Ichigo. Maybe you'd take it lightly, treat it as a parody, and let it slide. But die-hard fans, or the original authors of those works, probably wouldn't take it so easily. They might see this new manga as a massive insult to their creations. In fact, people complained so much that this new manga was cancelled after just one chapter. Well, this exact scenario actually happened a few years ago with a manga called Cheat Slayer. The manga kicks off showing a massive battle between humans and demons. We're told it's a war between those trying to rule the world, the Demon Lord's army, and the heroes opposing them. Leading the charge against the demons are a few legendary heroes, one of them being a guy named Kirito. Wait, wasn't there an anime called Sword Art Online? What was the protagonist's name? Kirito? Anyway, moving on. The story then shifts focus to two childhood friends from a small village, a boy named Lute and a girl named Linda. Lute is reading a newspaper about how the heroes defeated the demons. He's totally fanboying over the reincarnated, the Isekai heroes, saying how much he respects them for saving humanity. He wants to go to the royal capital to join their team and help them fight demons. Linda, on the other hand, is completely over it. She tells him to calm down and explains that the reincarnated are just too overpowered. Their power levels are in a whole different league. They can slice through iron like butter and use magic to drill through mountains. She points out that Lute barely knows how to swing a sword. Lute insists he could still help out by carrying their bags or something. Linda brushes it off, essentially confessing her feelings by saying she'd rather spend her whole life right there with her childhood friend than go far away to be with some reincarnated hero. Lute is dense and keeps asking her what she means by that, but Linda suddenly goes quiet. She notices their village is on fire. Before they can even react, someone snaps Lute's neck and attacks Linda. Lute blacks out. When Lute eventually wakes up, he's paralyzed. He thinks it's all just a bad dream, but when he opens his eyes, he sees the guy who murdered his beloved Linda doing absolutely disgusting things to her body. Lute is in deep denial because the guy committing these atrocities is none other than his idol, one of the reincarnated heroes, Lewis Crawford. Lewis casually throws out a line, essentially saying, "If you don't want to Google the definition of disgusting, here it is." Right then, two other guys walk in and interrupt Lewis. The Looper, Honda, the Undead King, Don. Will Dead Honda yells at Lewis to wrap it up and clean the mess. Lewis casually agrees, wondering why he even needs to clean up since everyone in the village is already dead. Well, everyone except Lute, who is still lying there paralyzed, trying to convince himself he'll wake up from this nightmare and tell Linda all about it. The scene shifts to the royal capital, where the so-called heroes reside. We see a guy thanking everyone for gathering. He refers to the group as the Executive Insurgents of God. This leader is the dual-wielding Black Knight, Kirito G. I wonder who the dual-wielding guy named Kirito in an Isekai world is supposed to be. That's right, our SAO boy, Kirito. The manga then introduces the rest of the 8 heroes, and if you're an anime fan, you'll instantly recognize who these Isekai protagonist parodies are based on. Honda, Subaru from ReZero, Lewis, Shin from Wise Man's Grandchild. Honestly, this one is hard for me to digest. I just watched this show and even talked about it in a recent vlog. Shin is such a kind-hearted protagonist, so seeing him depicted as this vile villain is wild. Flare, Aqua from Konosuba, Emerdia, Katarina from My Next Life as a Villainess, Anastasia, Tanya from the Saga of Tanya the Evil, Roro, Rimuru from That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, Yukiko, Aletta from Restaurant to Another World, Don Will Dead, Ainz from Overlord. His skeletal appearance gives it away immediately. In the world of Cheat Slayer, the main protagonist, Lute, isn't the one who got isekai'd. Instead, it's these 9 individuals who were reincarnated into this world, and they are completely, irredeemably corrupt. The council meeting. During the meeting, Flare talks about how the demonic forces are a threat to humanity, and how they, the insurgents of God, need to take down the demon lord to bring peace. She actually sounds like a good guy for a second. Kirito agrees, but Lewis just bursts out laughing. When Flare asks what his problem is, Lewis straight up mocks the idea of helping people. He says they only used their cheat skills to become the strongest, wipe out petty kings, and dominate the world. Now they have fame, money, and women. Isn't that the real purpose of their group? It's genuinely heartbreaking to see Shin portrayed as this incredibly evil, corrupt guy, if you're a fan of his original anime. Imerdia, Katarina, calls Lewis disgusting and mocks him for massacring the village. She even takes a shot at his past life, saying he must have been so horribly ugly before he reincarnated that she wants to pray for his old face. Lewis snaps. He slams his hands on the table, draws his sword, and threatens to silence anyone who has a problem with him. And here's the crazy part. His sword terrifies all of them. Even though they are essentially gods in this world, Lewis's sword is completely broken. It's pumped so full of magic that it's literally capable of slaying gods. Kirito steps in, threatens to kill Lewis if he doesn't stand down, and tells the newbies not to get cocky. Lewis backs off, plays it off as a joke, and leaves the meeting, though the other members clearly don't trust him not to cause more trouble. Back at the ruined village, Lute finally snaps out of his paralysis. His snapped neck is completely healed. He hopes it was all a bad dream, until he turns his head and sees Linda's lifeless body, surrounded by the corpses of the other villagers. While he's trying to process the horror, a witch appears behind him. She notes that he has a surprisingly strong will to live. When Lute asks who she is, she explains that she saved him by using magic to heal his wounds, but she can't bring the dead back to life. Lute is completely lost and asks her what happened. The witch drops the harsh truth. The reincarnated heroes did this. They wiped out the village, burned the houses, and murdered his childhood friend right in front of him, just for fun. The reality crushes Lute. The witch then asks him, "You hate them, right? Let's team up and kill them all." Lute is baffled. He asks why they shouldn't just leave it alone, assuming it's entirely impossible to kill a reincarnated hero. The witch questions why he thinks they are untouchable. She then shatters his entire worldview by revealing the truth about these so-called heroes. The people of this world think they are divine saviors sent by the gods, but the witch knows exactly who they were before they came to this world. "You have no idea who they really are," she tells him. "If I told you what they were like before they got here, you'd never believe they were heroes. One of them was an absolute loser who just sat in his room all day, and he just played video games all day. In his previous world, where magic and powers didn't exist, he was absolute dog shit. He just spent his entire life grinding a 2D game." I'm guessing you already know who she's talking about here, Ainz from Overlord. So yeah, the manga isn't holding back on insulting the other protagonists either. Even in Overlord, they show that his past self was kind of a shut-in gamer, but Cheat Slayer brutally bashes him for it. The witch goes on to say, "That dude was truly a piece of trash." Lute is completely lost, having no idea what she's talking about. She continues, "People like that, who do absolutely nothing, should have just died. But instead, they came to this world and experienced the greatest joy possible, reincarnation. All these reincarnated folks got special cheat skills, healing, teleportation, skill set rank up, ancient magic. And with these cheat skills, they became so overpowered that they completely flipped the balance of this world." She drops the ultimate truth bomb. Those pieces of shit gained unparalleled strength through their cheat skills and became heroes. They didn't even deserve it. They were just extremely lucky. They put in zero hard work to achieve those skills. In other words, those reincarnated people are just pieces of shit living off cheat codes. Now, is this true? Well, sort of, yeah. Let's look at Rimuru, the slime, for example. In the real world, he was just a regular corporate wage slave. The moment he reincarnated, sure, he faced a few challenges, but he was wildly overpowered right from the start. Still, no matter how you look at it, you can't just call them inherently evil people like this manga claiming. Even after hearing all this, Lute still doesn't buy it. He tells her none of this makes any sense. But the witch stands her ground, stating that if you stripped away their cheat skills, they'd just be pathetic, normal people again, which is actually a valid point. Then, the witch tells Lute something unexpected. You don't have to kill them. You don't have to take revenge yourself. I will teach you everything about how to kill those brats. Honestly, the witch is looking super sus to me right now. We already know the heroes are evil scumbags, but she's acting incredibly shady too. Maybe something horrible happened to her in the past, or who knows, maybe she's the actual main antagonist. We cut to Lute in a much more civilized area, definitely far away from his destroyed village. He's deep in thought about the reincarnators and the witch, and his pacing brings him to a specific building. What is he doing here? A flashback fills in the gaps. During their conversation, the witch decided their first target would be Lewis, the guy who murdered Lute's girlfriend. She breaks down Lewis's kit, explaining that he relies on two majorly broken skills. 3 knows magic. Magic that requires no incantations, no attributes, and no support. It's a wildly powerful spell that basically nullifies other magic. Magic tool creation. He uses his unique magic to craft heavily enchanted gear. Fun fact, Shin, the character Lewis is parodying, actually uses these exact skills in his own anime. The witch tells Lute straight up, if we consider all the variables, there's a 100% chance he will completely obliterate you. Lute replies, then if I'm gonna get clapped, why am I even going to fight him? The witch smirks. First of all, Lewis doesn't know you're alive, and that's exactly how we're going to win. Her master plan? Lute needs to act as bait and lure Lewis straight to her. Lute points out that getting a god to follow him will be nearly impossible, but asks, even if I manage to bring him to you, what are you gonna do? The witch simply replies, I'm a witch. I'll use my magic, and I will kill him. Flashback ends. Back in the present, Lute is walking into a massive, luxurious mansion. It's Lewis's place. Before he can get far, a butler stops him and demands he hand over any weapons. Lute thinks to himself that he doesn't even own a weapon. He has absolutely nothing to protect himself with. If he dies here, it's game over for good. He genuinely wonders what the hell the witch is trying to pull off. Lute steps into the main hall, and the vibe is completely degenerate. Music is blasting, girls are dancing, and Lewis is lounging on a sofa, forcing himself on the women around him. One of the girls tries to push him away, saying his behavior is inappropriate for a reincarnated lord. Lewis sarcastically says, "Oh, please forgive me," and instantly strips her clothes off with magic. With a devious, psychotic smile, he threatens the room. What are you gonna do about it? Anyone got a problem? If I wanted to, I could literally kill every single person in this room in 2 seconds. So if you understand the situation, you better start sucking. Man, it actually hurts watching the author turn Shin into this pure, unfiltered evil. This guy isn't Shin at all. Terrified by his death threats, the people in the room comply. Just then, Lute steps in and witnesses the whole sick scene. As soon as Lewis spots him, he instantly blitzes over and grabs Lute by the throat. You're that little bastard from the village. How the hell are you alive? While being choked out, Lute realizes just how terrifying Lewis's physical strength is. It's clearly enhanced by magic. There is nothing human about his grip. Lewis groans. We reincarnators don't really like dealing with mysteries or stress, because we live stress-free lives in this world. So, care to tell me how you survived? Tell me, or I'll snap your neck again. Lute tries to speak, but literally can't breathe. Lewis slightly loosens his grip, and Lute immediately screams. Why did you kill them? We didn't do anything to you. We were just living peacefully. Lewis coldly replies, I don't give a shit if people live or die. Why are you asking me questions? You answer my question, you little shit. So what if your villagers died? It was a mistake. You survived, so just be happy. Hearing that, it finally clicks for Lute. This man is pure evil. Human lives mean absolutely nothing to him. Since Lute refuses to answer how he survived, Lewis sighs. Fine, let me just kill you again. Right as Lewis is about to finish him off, Lute blurts out, "You'll regret it, you neat piece of shit." Hearing that specific word absolutely shatters Lewis's composure. Lute glares at him and says, "I know exactly what kind of person you were before you reincarnated here." Lewis is in absolute shock. Why? Because no one in this fantasy world knows or uses the word neat. That is a slang term strictly from his previous world. Lewis is internally freaking out, wondering how this random village kid knows about his past life as a loser. Lute knows he has him hooked. He looks at Lewis and says, "If you want to know how I know, come with me. Have some tea at my place, and I'll tell you everything. And then, I'm going to take your life." And with that absolute banger of a cliffhanger, Chapter 1 of Cheat Slayer ends. Yeah, after that incredible setup, Chapter 2 never dropped. Look, while they didn't say it publicly, it's pretty obvious the original authors of those famous Isekai series weren't happy about their beloved characters being portrayed as rapists and murderers. Like I said, I just watched Wise Man's Grandchild, and Shin is so wholesome. Of course his creator would be pissed. I did hear a wild rumor that the author of Slime/Rimuru actually found the evil Rimuru concept interesting and wanted to collaborate with the Cheat Slayer author to add to the story. I'm not sure if it's true, but it's a crazy thought. Earlier, I mentioned this manga was written by a very famous author. Who was it? Homura Kawamoto, the creator of Kakegurui. If you haven't seen Kakegurui, you definitely need to watch it. So, Cheat Slayer got instantly cancelled. If I had to guess how they could have avoided the axe, I'd say tone down the edge. They made the characters way too disgustingly evil right off the bat. Lewis violating a dead body was just crossing the line. Change the designs. The character designs, powers, and names were way too close to the originals. The copyright infringement was screaming off the page. As for what would have happened next in the story, we'll never know. Maybe Lute was actually the true hero all along. Maybe that witch was actually Truck-kun's driver, with magical dimension-hopping powers. Those are just fan theories I read online, but they sound super cool. Whatever the case, that's the complete, short-lived legacy of Cheat Slayer. Don't expect a part 2, because it literally doesn't exist. Anyway, I've got more videos on the channel, so go check them out. See ya!